All right, this one could get kind of heated. Um, Manatees were taken off the endangered species list, I believe, in 2017. And ever since then, people have been freaking out. Because, of course, as soon as that happened, some really bad red tide happened. So the manatees went from looking pretty good to, oh man, a lot of these guys are dying. And people were like, see, told you shouldn't take it off. So, lawsuit launched over federal failure to protect manatees after nearly 2,000 died in 21 and 22. Yesterday, the Center for Biological Diversity, Harvard Animal Law and Policy Clinic, Miami Waterkeep, and Frank S. Gonzalez Garcia sent a notice of their intent to sue the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for failing to protect the West Indian manatee under the Endangered Species Act. The legal notice followed conservationists' November petition urging the service to reclassify the species from threatened to endangered under the Endangered Species Act. The service was required by law to determine within 90 days whether the petition presents substantial information indicating if uplisting the manatee may be warranted. It has now been more than 150 days with no finding. I'm appalled that Florida Fish and Wildlife Service hasn't responded to our urgent request for increased protections for these desperately imperiled animals, said Reagan Whitlock, a Florida-based attorney in the Center of Biological Diversity. It's painfully clear that manatees need full protection under the Endangered Species Act, and they need it now. While we're submitting the notice, I'm hopeful the service will act quickly to restore full protections. Since the service prematurely reduced protections in 2017, the species has declined dramatically. Pollution-filled algae blooms sparked an ongoing mortality event that killed nearly 2,000 manatees in the past 2 years. This represents more than 20% of all manatees in Florida. Manatee experts predict that the high levels of malnourishment and starving manatees will continue. So, they're not wrong. We've had a lot of red tide, bad red tide, that has been sparked by many numbers of things. And I believe it's mostly human made. Not purposefully, but it's definitely caused by things that we humans do. And the state doesn't really want to recognize that. That's my only real big problem with DeSantis, is that he kind of just listens to people about this environment and just like, oh yeah, this is a normal thing, talking about red tide. And it's like, yeah, red tide is a normal thing, but it's been exacerbated because of the things that we have dumped into the water and the runoff we have here in Florida. And he's just like, my scientist told me it's a normal thing. And he went to Piney Point a couple years back when there was a huge runoff here in Tampa and there was a huge outbreak and there was a state of emergency. And he just said that it was just a normal event, that just stuff that happened. So that's one thing I don't really like about him. But this is a real thing. And when they took them off the list, there wasn't all these deaths. So they didn't do anything wrong taking them off the list. They hit a certain number. People were very happy with it, and a lot of people were. And a lot of people were saying things like, you're going to open up a manatee hunting season. You're going to kill all the manatees. That's never going to happen. It's like dolphins. You're not going to open up a dolphin hunting season here in Florida. There's plenty of them, but you're not going to. It's the same thing. The only reason that some of these people want this funding is because they get to keep their jobs. They get to protect manatees. And because, money has to go towards protecting these animals when they're on the Endangered Species Act. It gets federal funding. And so as soon as you take that species off, you lose a lot of that funding. Not saying that that's the only reason. Okay, here we go. Unchecked pollution from wastewater treatment discharges, leaking septic systems, fertilizer runoff, and other sources is fueling the collapse of the Indian River Lagoon, leading to the unprecedented manatee mortality event. See, here's the thing. They're part of what they say is that the pollution is causing all of the seagrass to die, and then the manatees are starving, which is not untrue. But the problem is not that the manatees are dying. The problem is that the area is polluted. So why aren't we fixing the problem so that the solution, so the manatee solution kind of figures itself out. That's what I don't get. They call, that's what Florida loves to do. We love to call to the attention to protect one animal or a couple animals in an area. And then when it comes down to it, it's only about the animal. It's not about what the animal lives in. So like we have all this python stuff going on and people freaking out about the Everglades, but like the Everglades is being destroyed right now. I just drove through like literally like a fifth of the Everglades is under construction right now. You can see it from Google Maps. Like when I tell you this, Google Maps. I want to show you guys something. Show you guys something crazy. Here we go. Okay. Watch this. See, this is the Everglades right here. Roughly. Zoom in on this area right in here. You see that? See all those running through right there? Right in here. See all those lines? They look like dirt roads. You see all that? Right next to the Florida Panther National Wildlife Area. Fakahatchee Strand State Preserve. Oh, you mean a state forest right here. Yeah, you know what all this is right here? This giant chunk? That's all development. I drove through here thinking that it would just be dirt roads. No, these are all freaking houses. You know how long it takes to drive from here to here? You know how long that takes? I didn't even get halfway through it and it was already like 10 minutes into driving. Like, and that's at like 45. Like, this is a huge area and this is nothing but homes. This is going to be completely homes. Look at the chunk of the Everglades that is right there. That's breaking up. Like, you're just, that's going to be development soon. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's not, they don't care. They pretend like they care about the animal, but then they destroy the animal's habitat. There are pythons in here. There are pythons in here. There are pythons down here. Oh yeah. Not really up in here. Not many. There's a couple in here. But like south of Okeechobee, you rarely ever see pythons. Like this area. Because there's not really, this is all farmland. This is all sugarcane in here. See that grid? That's all the sugarcane fields. And where does it go? It flows down south into the Everglades. Boom. Everglades kind of cleans it up. And then these two outflows right here, that's where all the water from the when they do the Everglades or the Okeechobee dumps, that's where it comes out. You don't really get red tide on this side because it's deeper and there's more current flow and it's a little cooler. But you follow this down to Fort Myers and this area gets red tide and that whole section up here gets red tide. That's what I'm saying. So, anyway, back to the manatees. It doesn't seem like they really care about, like they pretend to care about the animal, but they don't care about the land that the animal lives on or the water. The water is destroyed because of all these pollutants you're dumping in it, and your first goal is to protect the animal when, like, if there's no land or area for the animal to live in, yeah, the manatees are going to starve if there's no seagrass left. But like, that's the problem. It has been months of agony and justified time loss for manatees in Puerto Rico. A local engineer concerned with the loss of natural resources, recent fatal accidents, and unprecedented toxic water discharges aggravate the already precarious living and survival conditions of the beloved species. A recent study also found that more than half of sampled Florida manatees are chronically exposed to glyphosate, a potent herbicide applied to sugarcane and aquatic weeds. Discharges from Lake Okeechobee containing glyphosate have also resulted in higher concentrations of glyphosate in the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucia or Lucie rivers. The science is clear that this species is declining precipitously and therefore clearly merits uplisting. Big words, Rachel. Good job. Executive Director of Miami Waterkeeping. Reclassifying the manatee as endangered and addressing water quality issues across the state is imperative to all Floridians and our unique wildlife. Okay, so I can get that. More than 100 manatees are killed a year by boaters in Florida. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not a lot compared to how many are there. Like, pretty much every manatee has been hit by a boat. You're not going to stop that. You're not. It sucks to say, but you're not. Originally listed endangered in 1973, manatees have never truly recovered. Florida Fish and Wildlife Service announced its final rule downlisting the West Indian manatee from endangered to threatened on March 30th, 2017, despite hundreds of manatees still dying each year from boating, strikes, habitat loss, and other causes. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Service has defined the organization. Blah, blah, blah. This right here, this section, that little last part, despite hundreds of manatees still dying, that has nothing to do with their endangered list. Yeah, manatees are going to die. You think every single one is going to live every single year? No, they're not. Panthers die every year. You know, all these alligators are hit by a car every single year. Hundreds of alligators die every year. They used to be critically endangered. Like, that doesn't have any merit on it. Sucks. It really does. Manatees are really cool. I love them. But you got to go after the right thing. And if they don't have anywhere to live, you know, there's not going to be much left of them. So, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you on the next one.